Hello and welcome to my presentation. My name is Nicole Barrios and I will be talking about Chlamydia trachomatis. First, we're going to start off with some taxonomy. So the kingdom is bacteria. The phylum and the class are both Chlamydiae. The order is Chlamydialis. The family is Chlamydiaceae. The genus is Chlamydia and the species is Chlamydia trachomatis. So this is an STD and it is actually one of the most reported STIs or sexually transmitted infections. It is most commonly found between men and women between the ages of 15 and 24. And this is because this is usually a time period that people are the most sexually active. There are 3 species of chlamydia, and that includes Chlamydia trachomatis, Chlamydia psittaci, and Chlamydia pneumoniae. But for this presentation, we will just be focusing on Chlamydia trachomatis. So this is a gram-negative, and it is a pathogenic bacteria, and it is an obligate intracellular pathogen. That means that it relies 100% on a human host. It cannot survive without a host. So when scientists first found this, they believed that it might have been a virus, but they did end up finding that it contains a cell wall as well as DNA and RNA. So that led them to believe that it is a bacteria and not a virus. So there are 2 forms, and that is the elementary body and the reticulate body. It's very important to remember that the elementary body is infectious and the reticulate bodies are reproductive. So now I want to dive in a little deeper into the life cycle of these 2 bodies. So the interesting thing is that these bodies are interchangeable. They do not stay as one and then end as one. They can kind of switch back and forth throughout this life cycle. So we will start with the elementary body, and that will bind to the host cell and it will enter through an inclusion. Once it enters through the cell, it will then transform to a reticulate body. And remember, reticulate bodies reproduce. So this is when replication will happen via binary fission. This can happen between 2 to 3 hours per generation. And there is a incubation period that can last anywhere from 7 to 21 days. After this time period, it will actually go back to an elementary body. After that happens, then lysis will occur, and this is when the cell will actually break and the elementary bodies will flood out and find nearby cells to invade. Now, the structures of these 2 bodies are different because of the functions. Elementary bodies have a firm and rigid cell wall, and that is because they do end up leaving the cell, so they need to be stronger. Whereas the reticulate bodies, they do stay intracellular, so they do have a softer, more fragile cell wall. Reticulate bodies also are metabolically active, and that is because they do have to replicate and reproduce. The elementary bodies are metabolically inactive, so they don't need to reproduce. So that's just all up to the reticulate body. So the antibodies is next. I know you're probably looking at these antibodies and staring at them like, what are you talking about? Well, let's go over them. So these are just a few of the antibodies that are induced after you are contracting Chlamydia trachomatis, and that includes the few that I have listed: IgM, IgG, IgA, and IgE. These are produced in the body, and these actually help to neutralize the infectivity of the elementary bodies. There's also monoclonal antibodies, and these are not produced in the body. These are actually produced in a lab, and these enhance the immune system's reaction to help fight off the cells. Now, these will treat the infection, but they will not treat it from happening again. It will just do it for that one time. So now some signs and symptoms. So the most common form of Chlamydia trachomatis is genital infection, and it is spread through various types of intercourse, including oral, vaginal, and anal. It is also transmitted through bodily fluids, and that can include vaginal fluids, semen, or pre-cum. And interestingly, it can also be spread from mother to child during birth if the mother has Chlamydia trachomatis. Now, I did add this little picture on the side of just some of the symptoms. You can see there's a few that are similar: discharge and burning or painful feeling while urinating. There are a few differences though, and I want to dive in a little deeper with those. So we're going to start with the effect on males. So these are just the more common infections that males can get from Chlamydia trachomatis if they are untreated and they leave it untreated. So we have epididymitis, and this is inflammation of the epididymis. And this is a tube that's located around the testicle and that carries the sperm. So this will cause severe pain in the scrotum, and it can also cause redness around the surrounding area. This can also cause discomfort while urinating. Next is proctitis, and this is inflammation of the anus as well as the lining of the rectum. Now, this can last anywhere from weeks to months, and some symptoms can include pain during bowel movement, soreness in anal area, diarrhea, and bleeding. The last one is non-gonococcal urethritis, and this is a urethra infection, and this will cause discomfort while urinating. So now I do want to talk about the effects on males. The first one will be salpingitis, and this is inflammation of the fallopian tubes. And if this is untreated, it can actually increase the chances of ectopic pregnancy. The next is cervicitis, and this is inflammation of the cervix, which is the lower narrow end of the uterus that opens into the vagina. And last is gonorrhea, and this one is actually kind of hand in hand. They usually co-infect. Gonorrhea and chlamydia co-infect together. Now I added this picture. This is actually the cervix of a female, and this shows what it would look like if you had chlamydia trachomatis. So you can get a few non-genital infections, and that includes conjunctivitis as well as trachoma. And these are both eye infections. Now, trachoma is the more serious infection, so I want to talk about that one first. This can lead to pannus as well as the cornea is looking clouded, and that is why I added that picture there. You can see it's very blurry, it's not clear at all, and this is actually one of the leading causes of preventable blindness, hence why I added a blind man with a walking stick. Conjunctivitis is definitely less damaging. It can heal spontaneously, and usually there's no long-term effects. Again, these are both forms of eye infections, and they can be spread from human to human via sharing towels, or if you are touching your genital area and you go to touch your eyes with contaminated fingers. Now, who is at risk? Anyone that is sexually active is at risk. Men and women under the age of 25 years old. Again, this is usually when people are the most sexually active, as well as pregnant women, because pregnant women can actually give this to their child. As the child is going through the birth canal, it can get that, the chlamydia trachomatis, and that can actually lead to blindness as well in the child. So some preventions and treatments. It's very important to get tested. Usually right once you turn 20 or 21, it's very recommended to get tested every year or after every time you have a new sexual partner. There are a few ways to test. You can do a urine sample, which is the more common sample. It's just pee in a cup and they can read the results from there. They can also do a swab. So for women, they will swab your cervix, and for men, they will stick the swab through the tip of the penis and swab the urethra. This is a little more it's not as common as just doing a urine sample. Another prevention that should be used is practice using condoms while you're having sex. If your condom breaks, it's recommended that you do get tested as well, just to be safe and to be sure. And some treatments. The most common form of treatments is actually antibiotics. And the two most common forms of antibiotics are azithromycin and doxycycline. Azithromycin is more commonly prescribed because it is only a single dose that you take orally, whereas the doxycycline you will be prescribed enough to take for 7 to 10 days, twice a day, and again orally. Both of these, it's recommended that you stop sexual activity 7 days during, and then you also want to wait 7 days after. And it's also recommended that you get tested 3 months after you are treated, because again, these will treat the chlamydia trachomatis that you currently have, but it will not prevent it from happening again. So it's very important after you catch it one time that you make sure that you are getting treated constantly after, to make sure that you don't reinfect yourself. So it's very important to make sure that you are testing. Now that is all that I have on my presentation of Chlamydia trachomatis. Thank you for watching.